Ah, damn it. Okay. Let's get okay. Let's see. Uh-oh. Let's do this.
And yes, I am on mute. It's just it doesn't show up on Discord.
Okay, thank you. It is streaming? Wait. Oh, I had all my tab. Really? No.
It's working, by the way.
It is?
Yep.
For some reason, I don't see it on my end. Oh. Okay, it is working. Okay. Okay. Let's wait a second. Let's get this. Okay, we good now. We're just going to wait a few minutes while we're getting everyone on again. You there, Weather King? Okay, thank you, guys. One moment. Oh, my. This has been a long day. Okay, let's do that. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. This is take 2. Now it's working. We had some audio troubles. As you guys know, I am probably the king at having audio issues. This ain't the first time. It ain't the third time. It's been quite a few times. But I think we might have figured out why it keeps happening. So hopefully this should be good now on from here. This is the satellite imagery of the Atlantic. We also have some special guests. We're also going to be taking a look at the 0Z model runs. And we're going to go live for about an hour or so. Depends how everything goes tonight on everything. And I would like to introduce people in the chat. So if you guys would like to unmute, feel free to unmute and introduce yourself. Whoever would like to go first.
Good evening, everybody.
All right. That is Tristan, everyone. As you guys know, we have had him on past streams and Pats. And also, Tristan's a good guy. I think he is very well deserved. He has a lot of knowledge. And he will be great for the stream to give you guys some information. All right, who will be next that would like to introduce themselves?
That will be me.
All right.
Earth, you can go first.
Yeah, Earth Central. Over here, so.
That is Earth Central. He's an awesome weather dude too. We all here has a lot of weather knowledge. They're going to be helping me out, giving me even some of their knowledge on the Atlantic hurricane season. And we kind of come across a little bit, why has the Atlantic been dead? Here we are. We're on the day of the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season as of September 11th. Basically, we're going to be taking a look at the Central American Gyre and a little bit in the main development region. And even we can look at our little bit of an East Pack and wherever else you guys would like to take a look at, because I know there's some other tropics around the world that we can actually take a look at. So what would you guys like to explain a little bit about the satellite while I get some things ready?
Well, I didn't introduce
Well, I
myself
can tell you
first.
right now, in terms of global stuff, we do have a rare September cyclone in the southern hemisphere, although it's on its last legs right now.
Who is that? Is that Blossom?
Sure. Yeah, Blossom.
Would you like to talk a little bit about Blossom?
Anyway. Yeah. Now, for those thinking, oh, it is set September. We get hurricanes all the time in September. How is this rare? Yeah, for the southern hemisphere, September is the equivalent of our March. Latter part of winter, going into early spring, this is not a normal time of year for them to be having cyclonic activity, at least of tropical nature. So, and this may pose a small threat as a remnant low to the African island nation of Seychelles. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, but that could bring in some nasty weather for them.
He's talking about.
Well,
You're talking about
that's
down
some
here.
launch.
Let's use blue. You're
No,
talking about.
that's Madagascar. That's Madagascar.
Okay.
I'm talking about the small islands to the northwest.
Ah, I see. There's definitely some
Um,
shear on it.
So I don't think I introduced myself.
All right. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I am Skytrader BWX. My actual real name, I don't want to go into disclose, but I am the owner and founder of Tropics WX and Storm HQ. What's it called? Storm Tracking HQ. I'm the one that essentially gives out updates when these storms form.
Yeah. If you would like to. Yeah.
When it comes to my other channel, I'm the one that provides updates, provide weather updates in our stuff, like live streams.
Yeah. If you would like to put that in the chat, feel free. Everybody, please
I
check
will.
him out.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Yeah, and I can tell you right
Yes.
now, once I get a vehicle, I'll be back out storm chasing like I did last year.
And we'll be having him to give us some footage, especially in hopefully the winter time or whenever
Yeah, the hurricane. Not
season.
gonna lie, the hurricane stuff, that would be a challenge for sure because of, well, if I can tell you right now, if I had a car last hurricane season, I probably would have gotten killed in Helene. So yeah.
Also,
How
now,
things work.
yeah, okay, thank you. We're also taking a look at tropical depression. What is it? 13 now in the Eastern Pacific. Seems like the
Yes.
Eastern Pacific has been overperforming everybody a lot more, in my opinion, than I was expecting. This could actually become a hurricane. Yeah.
Without a one.
I can go into depth with that.
Okay,
I
if you would like
actually-
to.
I go into tropics a bunch.
Okay, if you would like to explain, I have the satellite here. Let me know if you want me to look at any of the models for it. Feel free.
Hold on, give me a second. I'm refreshing it because I have not updated it.
I have my screen shared and a bunch of tabs.
All
up,
right.
So I got
Tropical
multiple basins.
Tropical Depression 13 heading northwest off the coast of southern Mexico. It is 65 miles or 105 kilometers southeast of town in Mexico. I don't know how to pronounce it. It is 65 mile per hour or 35 mile per hour winds with 55 knots per hour. Movement is 290 or west northwest at 12 miles per hour or 19 kilometers per hour, and minimum pressure of 1,007. It is expected to be It is expected to be Mario, our next name on the list, before roughly becoming a hurricane with about 80 mile per hour.
Wins. All right, thank you. Let's take a.
I wouldn't
yeah.
be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up with a Cat 2 peak.
Yeah,
So,
this is
yeah.
we also taking a look at the hurricane models. Hurricane models in the next 48 hours does have this becoming a tropical storm. Generally off the coast, and even like he just said, the HRF has it as a Category 2 peak, and then as it gets into cooler waters, it actually shockingly survives. I mean, and then it starts to die out towards the end of the HRF, but it definitely becomes our next hurricane here, everybody. And when we take a look at satellite imagery, what this could look like in the future, it generally has some trouble in the beginning with its convection and everything, but this generally moves away from Mexico, and when it does become a hurricane, it's pretty far away, not completely without impacts along the Baja of California. It's still going to bring some probably outer bands and some rain showers and even some downpours. It definitely will bring rough surf, but you guys can see here it does become a pretty good looking hurricane on the HRF. This is only one model. I think there's actually, is there a spread with this storm at all, or is this generally going to be pretty far away from?
It's
Mexico?
gonna be very close to. It's gonna be very close to Baja California, which got hit by another hurricane recently. That has been kind of exploding on Twitter for a bunch of times now. It's gonna get very close.
All right, thank you.
And looks like landfall is possible with a couple small islands, but they're largely uninhabited. So, but still, it is a possible landfall thing with those islands.
All right, so yeah.
But I'm curious on where that goes beyond there as a remnant low, as it might be a possible remnant low threat to the southwestern U.S. Maybe.
Yeah, and actually speaking, and this is actually the National Hurricane Center's forecast rain in here, and definitely along the mountains of the coastal mountains of Mexico. You actually see generally pretty far inland of 1 to 2 inches of rain. So that does tell you this is already bringing some gloom and doom weather. But we also even have a spot of 2 to 4. And this actually goes pretty far inland than I was expecting. And then we actually have two spots here. One in the mountains. I don't know how to pronounce these areas in Mexico. If anyone would like to explain here a little bit about these areas that are going to be expecting 4 to 6 inches.
You've covered a lot more in that area, so I'll let you do it.
Yeah. I mostly covered quakes in those areas. But I do note there is volcanoes in that area as well. So, along with the rain, we could see flooding, we could see mudslides, landslides. And if one of those were to occur at one of the volcanoes in the region, that would be technically classified as a lahar, so cannot rule out possibilities of that either. So, and obviously cannot rule out the possibility of water spouts or even tornadoes with some of these outer bands as well, so do keep that in mind.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they're going to be, especially along the coast here, 4 to 6 inches of rain. So, like he just said, mudslides are still a possibility. So, yes, you guys might be like, okay, it's the cone. It doesn't have it making landfall, but it just shows you there's still impacts, even outside the cone.
The cone itself is very dangerous if you come into with the Atlantic as well. It's dangerous. It's not the cone; it's the storm surge that you need to be curious about.
Yes. So this is the 12. Yes.
Yeah, the cone. To put it lightly, the cone is where they forecast the center of the storm to be.
Yeah, and where it could go.
It does not take the outer bands. It does not take into account the size. It only takes into account the center of the storm.
Yes, I agree. So I just want to take a look at the National Hurricane Center's cone here.
I actually got a bunch of taps for this system and for the Atlantic all set up. So.
All right. Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Well, you go first, Winter Kingdom, because normally I like to explain a lot. So
yeah, I will. Let me just look at let me take a look at the broad, and then as we get more deeper into talking about everything, I'll let you take a bit of the show here and explain.
I also do have TD 13 satellite and multiple other angles of it that I found. So.
Yeah, actually, if you want to bring that up, we can actually all talk about that. Let me just...
So, right now...
Just give me 1 second. Today. Where is your screen recording?
My screen share is above yours.
Okay, let me just... Okay. Okay, watch. We're going to share. We're going to go full screen. We're going to hide them. Okay, this should be good, right? Yeah.
Let's see it shows us on the stream real quick.
Just give it a second.
Right. Why do we have Otis?
There we go. Yes.
So.
Yeah, it showed your screen. Okay.
Good.
So let's get down to. I want to show a comparison picture here. This was when it was designated. This is what we call microwave imagery, and what it does is it sees the structure of the system. It looks into the circulation and the convection. And earlier today, look how good it actually looked. You kind of got a little eye feature for the very low level structure of vorticity, and you have sort of some banding here going across the region. But when we look at the satellite, it's more popcorny convection. There is some sustainment, let's say right here, and that's because the vortex is such a small vortex. This is a very small system. So there is a little bit of shear and dry air combined with the mountains. In fact, we can look at that on the water imagery. There is a tiny bit of dry air coming in from Mexico because we have a little bit of a spin right here, but it's mostly because some of the rotation is actually on the land. We can see that northern thunderstorm circulating around common center, likely in this location. And the 10 p.m. advisory for TD13 actually came out. Let me see if I can get it out. There's the actual discussion. So, tropical pressure 13 discussion 2. 9 p.m. Central Standard Time today, September 11th. TD13 has somewhat improved. Let's look at the satellite again. Even though it's somewhat popcorny, you can see that they're trying to spin around a common low. The satellite appearance of 13. The low level center. The subject Dorak is currently in intensity estimates.
You're glitching out a little bit. Hello?
Have another.
Is this better?
Are you good? I think you were glitching
Is
out.
this better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. The intensity estimates for the TAA, FB, and SAB were 2.5 divided by 35 knot and 2.0 divided by 30 knot. Meanwhile, the objective estimates have ranged from 28 to 35 knots since the previous advisory. Because of that, you're staying at 30 knots in this advisory. 30 knots is 35 miles an hour. The depression is moving northwest-northwest at 10 knots, or what Trevor said, and 9 miles an hour. If I'm wrong, call me out. This general motion is expected to continue for the next couple of days as the cyclone is steered by a mid-level ridge over northern Mexico and Texas, the thing that is causing a little bit of dry hair there. You can tell there's a ridge because of the rotation north of the system. A turn to the northwest along with a decrease in forest speed is expected over the weekend as the system moves across the southwestern part of the mid-level ridge. Continuing for day 5, the original track is advisory between the HCCA and GDM. The circulation of 13E remains very small, like we talked about, with an estimate radius of the outermost closed isobar only 80 miles, and this may be generous, so it might be closer to the coast. In the next couple of days, the global model suggests that the moderate land should increase, should limit the system's ability to intensify significantly. And the intensity forecast only calls for some slow strengthening, but over the weekend, conditions are favorable for intensification before cold water eventually ruins its potential. The strength forecast right now is a 80 mile per hour category 1, but because it is a small system, like Earth Central said, a category 2 hurricane cannot be ruled out. And so let's look at the impacts. We were talking about the heavy rain earlier. 4 to 6 inches of rain off the coast, 6 to 8 inches of rain. And part of the 6 to 8 is because of lift from the mountains on the Sahara Mala del Sur mountains. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize.
And that's basically the same reason that Helene was so deadly.
Can I say something in one of your chats, What Kingdom?
Yeah.
So
real quick,
Rainbow Obsidian commented or chatted something about how the East Pack is more active than the Atlantic. That is somewhat true. At this time, compared to last year, East Pack had 1 Category 5, 1 major, and a couple tropical storms. Compared to this year, it's different. We've had 3 Category 4, 3 majors, no Category 5s, and I don't know how many hurricanes this year, but there's been a lot.
But we're to see M form.
Yes.
So essentially what I'm trying to say is, yes, East Pack is more active right now, but that
It's
can
almost
change.
like we're
That can change within weeks. That we can boost. The Atlantic can probably boost within the next 2 weeks.
yeah. Although right now it seems like we have like El Nino like conditions without actually being in El Nino.
Yes.
I'll pull up my analytics of what I got on that. So wait a minute.
We'll get more detailed into the Atlantic in a minute, but here's real quick the forecast cone. And in fact, I want to actually use the experiment cone that's on what I was using.
Yeah.
Or was it a
Although,
Google Map cone? Let me check
also-
real quick. Was it a Google Map cone?
Also, might be a
No,
good
it's
idea
this,
to
okay.
give a quick check on Invest 93S off the coast of Sumatra.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want, you can.
Here's the cone real quick, and we can see Category 1 hurricane. I can't rule out a Cat 2 peak because small systems in very good environments can
Quickly
just
strengthen.
flip a switch. And
Also,
strengthen.
can you actually look at the water temperatures in that area and keep the
Good
map
idea.
up? Yes. Because that's another thing,
Right.
because water temperatures
Yeah,
down
I
the
got-
road is not good for this system, everybody. But he's about to let's take a look at yeah. So and then press on that.
I actually like looking at two things for water temperatures. I like looking at two
All right. So
observations.
I'm
Can
currently
you-
going through the database of last year's season. We had 15 names, 5 hurricanes in 3 years, with the ace of 84.9.
Oh god,
You're glitching
I can
out
just
a little
imagine
bit.
1,000 ace in the Atlantic right now.
You're glitching out a little bit.
This year, just alone for the East Pack, we had 15 so far, 14 named storms, 8 hurricanes, 4 majors, with an ace of 86.6. So we've had more ace than last year.
Yeah, I just realized. Wait, how we have 15? We're at ED 13, but then I realized. Oh yeah, we're
And
throwing
keep
in
this in
Central
mind.
Pacific as well.
Keep in mind, the storm that was heading right for Hawaii that we just recently had was a ace maker. It was
It
producing.
definitely was.
Oh.
It was producing, I think, 20,000. What was it? 20 ace.
Yeah, something like that. It was an ace farm, that's for sure.
Okay, so you see surface temperatures right now for in the tropical depression, 30 Celsius off the coast of Mexico. But because it's so close to land, it won't be able to really use those waters
Correct.
for strengthening until it gets off the coast. Once it gets off the
And that's
coast,
why-
though, it does go. The waters do get a little bit cooler, but we all know the rule. Technically, if we're depending on outflow, 26 Celsius is good for tropical cyclones. 24 Celsius is good for subtropical, and then 28 Celsius is very good for sustaining hurricanes. And for most of its life until it gets to the wind shear, it has 28 Celsius until it gets to
Into the
25
cooler
to
waters.
23 Celsius waters.
Yes. You guys can
Okay.
also, I don't want to bring it up yet because we're going to be getting into the Atlantic, but yikes, that Caribbean and Gulf, you guys. And that's
I
not
will
a
say this.
pretty sight.
Go ahead. I will say this real quick. What the area is tracking on this somewhat below average waters for the East Pacific moment. Wow, it's next to the land. So that is definitely going to make it struggle for a little while.
Yes.
You can see this
Okay.
little cool trend right here. Either that's upwelling or that was a below average cooling right over here. This small spot, you see that? This right here, that's the mountains.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so I was kind of wrong about our ace maker. It was Kaneko with 31.04. With the Atlantic having a ace maker of air 32.2.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you guys think we're ready to take a look at the Atlantic?
Oh, I've been
Yeah.
ready.
Unless if you want to check out Invest 93S real quick, but
We can probably look at that towards the end of the stream, as I know a lot of
Yeah.
people in the audience is really focused on Eastern Pac, but especially the Atlantic. So, Do you want to read the discussion and then we kind of discuss a little bit on what we're thinking about the discussion from the National Hurricane Center? Tristan.
And of course, a new update comes out in the next 3 hours. I'm curious to see if they'll go 40% with the amount of consistency we were seeing right before we started the stream. But for the 8 o'clock, technically 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock, for the North Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of whatever, you can call it Mexico in America, we won't judge you. The Eastern and Central Tropical Atlantic. A tropical wave is forecast to emerge offshore of West Africa by Friday, tomorrow. Environmental conditions could support some slow development of this system over the weekend to early next week while the wave moves towards the west or west-northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour over the eastern and central tropical Atlantic. The percentage chance is 30%, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 40, potentially a 40 by 2. We're not going to guarantee that, but it could be a 40 with all the consensus we were seeing.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 10-40.
That's possible. It depends. Let's look at the visible satellite here, and that's our wave.
Yeah, can I do some? Okay.
D-Max.
Can I?
This is D-Max. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to say some things too about the satellite. Like he said, yes, it is D-Max, and right now the wave looks, pretty impressive. But there is some things that I'm very concerned about. Is we've been having an outburst of Saharan dust throughout the season, and we have seen a lot of waves that look very good coming off Africa, and then they break. Currently, that he just popped up is the water vapor, and to me, it's not too bad in the environment. Right now, with it's coming off, it's not in that bad of an environment. But there is still mid-level and...
East off the Pacific coast of Panama.
I was about to say something about this. That's essentially why this wave is showing up. Because the Saharan dust is actually kind of going a little bit, but it's still coming.
Yeah.
No, it was also
very.
There's another thing in the E-Pack we might want to keep an eye on. I just noticed in that satellite, there's something off the coast of Panama on the Pacific side that might try to do something funny soon. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been noticing that there's been a lot of dust in that area. So it's starting.
Yeah. So right now with the precip, you guys. It's not in a total bad environment, but I will definitely like to take a couple days and look at it and see how this wave evolve. Me and Tristan actually was talking about let's give it D-Max and then Duro minimum and then go through D-Max again and then even Duro minimum and see if this wave is still looking like this tomorrow night and even the day after, because if it is, it's likely going to get itself into a pretty good environment, and we'll be able to go over some of the obstacles that is out ahead of it. Something with Gabrielle that was supposed to happen with 91L. What happened with that, in my opinion, is it struggled in its beginning life, and then dry air started getting into it, and then it started... It was pretty...
Started hit the monsoon trough.
It started hitting the monsoon trough. There was other vortices that was actually to the southwest of it, and it actually tricked the models. But I would like to give it a few days on this, see how this wave overall comes off Africa, if we stay in this environment or does it die. Because if this does die, we could definitely get in dry air into this, and this thing could once again bust. I'm not going to lie with you guys. But if this is looking like it is in the 3 days from now, then yes, the chances will likely go up. And we could see our next name Storm. It is pretty crazy. It is almost September 12th. And we haven't seen one storm in September. It's pretty, right? Yeah. Not a single storm in September.
So far, yes.
So, pretty quiet September, but remember, you guys, this is the peak of the hurricane season. We still got the other half. And for people that's saying, okay, the Atlantic is over, you still got a whole other half, and we've seen one storm change the entire season from being dead to one of the deadliest call storms. So don't let your guard down
Really,
at all, because
And
yes,
it could easily go from dead to deadly. So at any moment. And there is something we do keep an eye out because the model's also been floating around with the idea of trying to form in the Gulf, courtesy of a gyre, and also a possible stalled front off of the coast, off the Carolina coast, breaking breaking off a stalled front and possibly becoming a quick spin up. But that's just but both of those are kind of beneath.
okay. Thank you. So I think what else would you like to take a look at, Tristan?
So
hold on,
I wanna-
All right.
hold on. I have something to kind of say that just came out by the the NWS National Hurricane Center. So the axis of there's 4 tropic waves out there now. The axis of a eastern Atlantic tropical wave is near 17 north, from 02 north to 020 north, or 20 north, moving westward at 10 to 15 knots. Scattered to moisture, moderate. Gosh, mistaken my words.
This is interesting.
To strong current is noted from 11 north to 17 north and east of 21 west.
Oh.
The axis of eastern tropical wave Atlantic wave is near 35 west slash 36 west.
Okay.
South of 19 north, moving westward at 10 to 15 knots. Scattered moisture conversion is noted from 0 north to 17 north, between 32 north and 38 north. The axis of a central tropical wave is near 55 west, south of 18 west or north. Moving westward around 10 to 15 knots. Scattered moisture conversion is noted from 10 north to 17 north, between 52 west and 57 west. The axis, this is another one, the axis of a Caribbean tropical wave is near 80 west, south of 18 north, moving at westward at 10 knots. Scattered moisture, moderate and isolated strong conversion is north of south of 11 north. That's all I have to say.
So not to go off topic, but still kind of weather related. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings was just issued for parts of north central North Dakota. Upham, North Dakota got one for inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, but the one to the south for Riga, Denbigh, Towner, and Berwick is calling for 2-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds, labeled as considerable. Both of these would be pretty much in and out for the next.
So if you guys,
5
yes,
minutes.
agree. So thank you for
Tristan,
that. Appreciate it.
Show that image. Show that discussion I was just talking about. Yeah, that one. That's the tropical wave that I'm talking about.
Our main tropical wave that we're taking a look at is the one that's right here, where he's doing that right there. That's the wave that's coming off Africa, and that's going to be the one with the AOI. Also, we are going to be watching the Central American Gyre, as things could try and, wake up a little bit.
Speaking of the gyre, it appears, according to weather-wise, there is active tropical storm warnings off the Mexican coast for 13E. I wouldn't be surprised if we see tropical storm watches and warnings pop up for the Mexican coast as this thing becomes a tropical storm.
It's weather-wise, Tristan.
Okay. So let's bring that up.
Figured I'd point that out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
right
off
there.
the coast. Yeah, some tropical storm warnings. That's definitely just off the coast, even against the coast a little bit.
That is marine related mostly. He's
Marine,
not
yes.
inland. Yes. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
So let's take a look at all the observations we're having for the Atlantic, because we don't just
Correct.
want to talk about the tropical wave here. We want to talk about, and I know Weather Kingdom wants to get into the models, so I might skip the models so y'all can see Weather Kingdom and us compare the models what we're talking about. But I want to show what's going on first. Here's the satellite picture here. The upper level low located northeast of Puerto Rico. A tropical wave energy east of the leewards that I am personally watching for something in the future. A storm front is off Florida by the Weather Prediction Center Surface Analysis, located over South Central Florida, west of the Bahamas, northwest of Cuba, into the Gulf of Mexico. And of course, we have a tropical wave over here. This will likely be part of the Climate Prediction Center's future outlook for another disturbance, either by the gyre, also influenced by the eventual gyre. This wave will likely go to the Eastern Pacific. This wave could act with the gyre. That could be our Atlantic problem. And this wave could be a future problem, but right now it's a little more unknown. This wave could be our AOI in the Central Atlantic. Something I don't trust all the time, but I might as well show it since we have a good satellite image, is the wind shear maps for the North and Eastern Atlantic. Notice here, this wave is getting sheared from a
Tut.
southwest to northeast direction. The Tut, exactly. And because of an upper level low right here, there is some good shear potentially right here, but a bunch of shear along with that boundary and into the United States. And there's a small area of decently intense shear with dry air in the Central Caribbean. So for now, the Central Caribbean is still a little off limits, likely until October, when
I
La
agree.
Nina comes in.
Also,
We'll
the
show
main
that in a
development
minute.
region. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. If you
Main
want to
development
go.
region, there is a tropical wave. There's shear in between. It looks like it's going towards that certain point where it doesn't get sheared in the beginning of its life, and that's very good because we always talk about dry air, and normally if you have a very good moisture bubble, if the low level center can form in a good position, it won't get sheared. It won't get not sheared. It won't get dry air entrainment. But even the smallest amount of dry air, it's not the have wind shear, and the thunderstorms of the system cannot fix this bubble or fix its structure. Right now, the tropical wave is in between two layers of shear, which might be actually giving it a little bit more outflow.
I agree.
Compare the way that is looking. So right now, it's in a very, you can say it's not heavenly Weather Kingdom, but it's near.
Yeah, it's not
near
bad
like-
at all. I completely agree with that. Very strong wave. The shear right now is not too bad. So it's not like it's in such a bad environment. One thing that I would like for you to talk a little bit about is that dry air currently, because I know that has been one major thing this season. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. So
Actually,
also,
Weather Kingdom, I would like to say this, and this might be surprising to you.
okay,
Climatologists have said that the dry air has actually been below average.
really?
That's not the reason the Atlantic is failing.
Is it because of that tut? Because I actually was about to bring
It
that
was
up.
because the Eastern Pacific systems activate the atmosphere in. I'm not good at explaining that type. But what they normally do is when you get a lot of Eastern Pacific activity, it tends to like to form a tut because of all their outflows combined around. Let's look at the shear again. You might be able to spot it. Look at all this convection. Shear right here, combined with the upper level low, is making sort of a tut, and that's been shutting down the Atlantic. And people are like, oh, Invest 91L failed. That's because it was already weak.
Yes.
By the time it got off Africa, this one, the whistles off the coast is pretty kind of, this is kind of like the Erin wave, actually. It was strong, and it was strong enough to the vortex. And then
you're glitching a little bit.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'll keep doing that.
Joyce.
Did he just leave? Oh.
Are we back?
Yeah, you're back. Thank you.
My computer do that sometimes. I don't know why. The reason Invest 91L failed was it was just a combo of things. You had the tut that would have sheared it as it went west. It didn't go that west and that north. We were thinking, oh, it might develop. But guess what happened? A little bit of shear got to it and dried air. And you know how it tried to fight back? The monsoon trough did give it more moisture, but then its own vortexes sheared it. I've never seen its own organization shear system because there was so much dry air at that certain period.
Yeah, I agree.
Every day, right?
That is very interesting that Tut has been, like you said, with the Eastern Pacific being more active, creating a pretty good amount of wind shear. Probably a little bit above normal wind shear with the last couple weeks. And that would explain it also. But there's something else that we're missing is the MJO. The Madden-Julia oscillation. It has been pretty unfavorable for the Atlantic. There hasn't been any
sinking air.
There's been a lot of sinking air instead of rising air. So when these tropical waves coming off, they're not just dealing with some dry air. They're not getting their rising motion, because maybe if we had an active MJO in the Atlantic, I think 91L would have probably be alive right now. We'll probably be talking about at least a tropical storm in the Leeward Islands going north of Puerto Rico tonight if the atmosphere was better in condition, especially with the MJO.
I would say that's not the reason, and I'm going to explain why.
Okay.
Erin was a sinking air Cat 5. The MJO was sinking air when it was a Category 5. I think what makes the difference is, yes, the MJO can favor it, but how strong is the tropical wave versus its environment? Can it get a vortex quickly so that way it can wait? Then, when it gets to the perfect conditions, can it spin up? Because a lot of people were saying Erin wasn't going to do nothing. All they had to do was wait to the Southwest Atlantic. So there is a decent comparison between Erin and this wave, is that both of these waves coming off Africa are strong. Does that mean this is going to be an ace maker? No. We have to watch the conditions over the next days, especially with the upper level low located northeast of Puerto Rico. Another thing to mention, and the reason why we're thinking it's going to be more of an October situation and not a September situation, is the fact that La Nina is coming. It technically started on July 17th. It went down briefly. It rose up past 0.5 very briefly, and then it completely went down. So likely by mid-October, the beginning of October, depending on the time frame, we will likely be in a La Nina. The La Nina, guess what it favors?
The Atlantic.
Less shear. The East Pacific being quieter normally.
And actually, who was the person that said it's kind of like an El Nino without an El Nino pattern? It's kind of...
I do.
Would you like to explain that? Because I think that's actually a very true thing that's been going on in the Atlantic also.
I think Trevor said that, if I'm correct.
Trevor, would you like to explain? Okay, I will a little bit explain on that. So basically, there was some talk about the El Nino. So, yes, we are in a neutral phase right now, and likely we are entering the La Nina. And that's going to help in favorable the Atlantic in October and the end of September. But what's been going on right now is there's been some dry air, Saharan dust in the low levels everywhere. Not just that, there has been shear. That has been a problem the last couple weeks in the Caribbean, where when we just talked about the shear before, with the East Pack being busy with all that convection and the outflow, it was actually having the outflow into the Caribbean, and then combined with the tut, it was actually making a belt of unfavorable winds like we see in the beginning of the year. So that actually helped to keep the Atlantic pretty quiet. And then with the Madden-Julia oscillation, the MJO not being active, it kind of created this unfavorable pattern in the Atlantic. Yes, we do got warm waters. Yes, we got historic waters, actually, in the Gulf of Mexico. Very warm waters in the Caribbean. And, it's been a gradual warming in the main development region. Not like we've seen previous years in the main development region, but still conducive for activity. Where we actually seen record-breaking water temps, I just talked about it a few days ago, was actually in the Gulf of Mexico. And I just want to tell you guys, I do think we will get a storm in the Gulf this year. And the question is how favorable the environment is. But let's say we do not get a storm in the Gulf or Caribbean, and the Atlantic struggles continues. These waters will be completely untapped for next year. And if the conditions are better than this year, next year could be probably the warmest waters ever recorded in the Caribbean and Gulf by a lot than 2023 and 2024. So keep that in mind, that if we do not get into any storms that tap into these very, very above average waters, we're going to be in very big trouble for when the next system goes into the Gulf or Caribbean. That's just a thing that I would like to talk about. I know you
I
just...
would also I like that point. Or I like that point because what a lot of people don't realize, and Weather Kingdom might be surprised I'm about to say, I think the reason why part of the reason why the Atlantic has been unfavorable is warm water. Now, before y'all say you're crazy, think about it like a severe weather setup. What happens when there's too much warm air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere? And your parcel can't rise. Capping. You can't get thunderstorm development. Notice this is somewhat cooler here while this is warming. That's the Atlantic changing. Earlier, this was colder and this was a lot warmer. Bermuda High got larger. The Tut developed. And now not only do you got shearing, which prevents tropical waves, but your lapse rates are failing. You're not getting that good temperature change within the levels of the atmosphere. And that's why I keep telling people, if your waters are too warm in a certain location, it can actually develop capping in the Atlantic. Not to help the Atlantic any better, we actually had a capping inversion. Because even when Invest 91L was with that monsoon, it had a bunch of moisture, able to fight dry air, it just couldn't really, all it mostly was popcorn convection.
Correct.
Because it had a cap.
All right.
And that's why I say very warm tropical waters are not good for Cape Verde seasons. Sometimes the environment can counteract this. We've seen this in some seasons, and in others it doesn't work as well.
This is kind of a horseshoe. Look at that. Look at this horseshoe that's developing.
Yes. But this area was so much warmer earlier, and this area was actually cooler than average. I want to see if I can get a chart of the sea surface temperatures a few days ago.
While you're doing that,
see if I can get a chart of that.
While you're doing that, Tristan, what can you look at my screen?
Okay, let me just quickly.
So, once you look at it, there's another point I want to go point out myself.
Is it Sky Trevor this right here? Yes.
Yeah. So there's another point I want to go in. Want to go out my way to point out something that you have never seen before until now. No action happened after our F name disappeared. We had set this is
You're
the
glitching
1992
a
season, so we're gonna compare it. The 1992 season, a month gap of no action, no nothing.
You're glitching a little bit, my friend.
If I am, that's kind of my fault. But the 1992 season had a month gap about it between the system when the storm developed, which was Andrew, from all the way to Bonnie, which formed on the 17th of September. I think essentially what's going to happen here is we're going to get a system next week that's going to probably develop by that same week of 17th.
Yes.
I essentially think, and this is coming out from my own self, that we'll probably get probably another 6 name storms
I can actually
for
see
the
that.
end of the season.
Yes, I can see that.
So don't think this is over yet. We're still going on. Our gyre hasn't fully came in. It's weak, but it hasn't came in yet.
Yes. I agree with you. Tristan, are you ready? Did you find it?
Not yet. I'm trying to get good data for it.
Okay. All right. So.
I wish the analysis went. I wish the analysis. Oh wait, actually, is that it? Yes. Wait. Hold on. No, that's a 4K. God dang it. Aw.
All right. While you're looking at that,
I found it.
You did?
I don't like using Twitter posts on the air. But the only way you can see is Twitter post.
And by the way, you were looking at my analytics for every season that I've had.
Yes, but I would like to share my screen a little bit. Also, you guys, we have the GFS model running. We are about 48 hours out. This is going to be interesting. I like to watch this evolved. But we also have the icon model. We're actually going to start looking at a little bit of the models while Tristan and our team here getting in some information. So this is the latest icon model. Take this with a grain of salt with a lot of these models, because don't put a lot. What we have been doing tonight is looking at records for this time. And also, we have been pretty much diagnosing the Atlantic of its quiet period. And we're seeing these little movement within the Atlantic that, yes, we haven't seen anything big just yet. But, with these little movements could quickly change the second half. Okay? We are about 10 minutes from beginning. We're about 10 minutes Eastern Daylight Time from beginning September 12th. That'll be the first day of the second half. So take it with a grain of salt. We still got into the end of November. So October, I do think will be busy in my opinion. But that's if the conditions get better. If these little pieces continue to soak in here, I do think things will likely be changed. But as we keep going... Okay, 1 second. Let me just finish here. The icon pretty much keeps the main development region system. It's a little interesting. I do think this is a little biased, but 180 hours out, we actually do see a little bit of a Central American gyre wave in the Bay Campeche. That's very interesting comparing to the 12Z. When we looked at the 12Z and we go to 180 hours out, if it would like to load here. Okay, it's taking its sweet little time. All right, got it. So when we looked at 180 hours out, there was a bit of a signal, but on the latest 0Z, it's a little bit more north and a little bit more seen if we looked at vorticity. So that's something I would like to keep an eye out. But remember, it's the icon. Don't take it. Also, in the main development region, also take this with a grain of salt. I do think the icon doesn't do the best job, in my opinion, in the main development region. But it does show our AOI slowly but surely getting better organized and eventually try and make a temp as a tropical storm. Also, a few other waves come off. Africa, I'm not too confident that we will be on September 19th looking at 3 waves in the main development region. I kind of want to wait a couple days because it's still about 7 days out. But it is a little bit interesting, and it also has a few more strong waves here coming off Africa. And one thing I want to take a look at before we look at Tristan stuff is part of the MJO. So this is the European here. This is the ECMW in spaghetti form here. And basically, this is my main line I'm about to draw here of the ensembles. This is by the 13th. We are... let me actually make this a little bit bigger here for you guys. This is where we are as of the 10th. This is where we are as of 11, where I just dotted. And this generally goes through the neutral phase. And by the 15th, we do enter phases 8 and 1. That is not the best for the Atlantic, but it is a quick moving MJO that will be associated with the Atlantic. Now I like to take a look at the European and the GFS. And this kind of, some of the ensembles have it coming out a little bit further. And I would like to see the progression in the next couple of days on this. And then it does kind of ride phases 1, then kind of go back to neutral. And it kind of heads into the neutral phase and kind of struggles. But there is other ensemble support that does have it going into phases 2 and 3. And if we can actually get into phases 2, 3, and 4, that's actually much more favorable, especially coming off Africa. Remember, this is just 1 euro. When we take a look at another member of the euro, it's a little bit more different. It actually has it coming out a little bit stronger into phases 8 and 1. And that does favor a little bit more of the Caribbean. So that's why we're seeing a period of about a week where the Atlantic could try and wake up. And I think that's actually pretty possible.
Just like how I said it, that sometime next week we're going to probably experience something.
Also, yes, I agree. And then the main forecast line generally goes into phases 1, very weak, and even phases 2. And by the 25th, it looks like we're actually going to go dip right back into 3. And then some of these ensembles looks like they're actually heading into phases 4. I would like to keep watching night by night on how this progresses. Because if we do see the MJO a little bit quicker, we could see it go into phases 8 a little bit deeper. Like this model has it a little bit more associated with the Atlantic and that. And if we can get into much deeper into phases 1, 2, and 3 and do a slow and good loop, that will really extremely favor the Atlantic. And that might be the kickstart of something that these waves will come off a little bit more robust. I'm going to be actually, is it okay, you guys? I'm talking a little bit about the MJO.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay. Don't worry. You will definitely get in your information here. When we take a look at the Emin, this is another ensemble. Very weird, in my opinion. This goes a little bit further. It has, I don't even know how many ensembles. Probably like 300. I'm not too looking into it. Kind of it's all over as it in phases 5. It is in every phase. So take this with a grain of salt. I'm not too confident on that one. When we look at this, a little bit different. The BLM is a little bit different. Also, where is that at? There's something else I like to use is, yes, the ECMW, just the ECMW charts. And today it does have it go into phases 1 and 2 quite a bit here. And the main model forecast actually has it going out from phase 2 into the neutral phase and kind of heading right back into a neutral phase for all the regions. But some of these green dots, and this is about 20 days, etc., does have it in phases 4. And even, actually, in my opinion, half of them actually has it into pretty strong phase 3. So, I would like to see how that progresses because we can actually take a look back 1 day ago and compare to today. Today, it kind of got a little bit weaker than going to phases 4. Tuesday was a little bit shorter, but it has it into phases 3 and 4. But I'll say generally there has been an uptick in phases 2 and 3. And I do think this will continue to change tomorrow. When we go back to what the September 3rd, it has it a much weaker in phases 2 compared to where we are at September 11th. I like to see the progression of this because the stronger it is, the stronger that MJO will be in the Caribbean and better for the Madden-Julia oscillation. Alright, sorry for yapping, you guys. Would anyone else
Mia,
like to
Mia, I know she's been quiet the whole time. She has something to do, so I'm gonna let her go.
Okay.
If she's there.
Yes, I'm here. I had to drink some water because I didn't want to start coughing randomly. So to go back to the point, I'm sorry. To go back to the point of what Weather Kingdom and Tristan was saying about the Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of whatever you call it. I seen someone ask in the chat, I can't speak. Do we think that the Atlantic or the East Coast per se, we'll say the East Coast, get hit by anything this year?
in my opinion, that's
Normally, unless it's a boundary system, in historical records, a lot of our storms have stopped being a threat from the East Coast by early October. But this hurricane season recently been different. You never know. Just stay ready, stay prepared, just in case something happens. But mostly, unless it's a boundary or one or two Cape Verdes actually end up doing it, or you can have effects from gyro Gulf of Mexico systems when they weaken over land on plenty of other seasons. So it is possible you can get hit by something. It depends on which angle and where you are. But still stay prepared, stay ready just in case.
all right.
Yeah, we were close once, and now it'll be with Eric.
Yeah.
No, it was with Aaron. It was with Aaron. It got pretty close.
It was Aaron.
Which did cause really catastrophic flooding or I don't want to say catastrophic, but some flooding to Puerto Rico and caused flood surge to the coast of North Carolina.
All right. I do want to finish up my segment on the MJO because I now got the model popped up. So thank you. Would you guys explain, not explain, but what's your guys' thoughts on what I just talked about? Was showing these, the MJO samples and everything. Do you guys think we could see a further progression into a more favorable in the Atlantic? Or what's your guys' thoughts on the MJO with the ensembles that I just took a look at for everyone?
In my opinion, I've always looked at the MJO not as a week by week, a day by day. Because there's so many atmospheric components that could change the MJO's position or how far it reaches. It can do just a finger of MJO. The whole thing can go on the Atlantic. For example, earlier models were showing, the Caribbean's supposed to get a finger of MJO, but the Atlantic still is sinking air until a lot later, or it could just go a whole MJO over the Atlantic. This is going to vary a lot. The MJO is a day-by-day basis because the shape can change, the area can change. With all the patterns around, we won't have an 100% idea of the MJO. The models give us a decent idea of where the MJO will be. So in my opinion, the best case for the Atlantic to really pop off is in two phases. Mostly a prediction because the MJO can change. Number one, later this week into all the way to likely September 22nd. The second peak of the MJO, and that depends on model guidance, might actually be October, right when the La Nina strikes. But that is my thoughts.
All right, thank you for that. I'm gonna take a quick look at the Euro and GFS for everyone here. We kind of brought this up a little bit earlier, but this is its global model of what it's thinking. And as we get into September 15th on the European and GFS does show, like I said, a period in phases 8 and 1. It does favor a little bit of the Atlantic here, rising motion. So that's going to help the Central American gyre to produce more showers, thunderstorms, convection. And if we do have any little vortex, it definitely with a nice showers and thunderstorms that sits over it quite a while could drill something into the ground and pick up on more activity. The Central American gyre is very hard to predict because there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that need to go right for a system to develop. But this is by September 16th. This is about in 5 days from now. And we are in a pretty good here MJO period in the Caribbean, especially in the Bay of Campeche and the Gulf. At this time, the GFS does want to start a Central American gyre system in this favorable period. Question is, does it take the favorable period that it has? I am not too confident, but we'll have to wait and see if models pick up on it more. Today, there's been a little uptick, but I kind of want to wait and see in the next couple days if we do see something. And if we do, I just want to say it will be a whole new ball game, like me and Pat would say. But this can also, the CAG could also bust. All right? So just watch it very closely and keep an eye on it. But as we go into September 17th, the MJO continues to be very favorable, especially into the 18th and even 19th here. And this is about almost 8, 9, 10 days out. And then eventually the MJO starts moving into the main development region, and at this time it could be quite a few tropical waves. So that this could help some of these tropical waves out in the main development region. So with a passing MJO could help to ignite these waves and give it its boost it needs. We also seen storms in unfavorable conditions that actually thrive very well. So you never know. But eventually, by September 22nd, according to Euro, a more unfavorable pattern, if it does go into the neutral phase, a little bit more unfavorable in the Bay, Campeche, Gulf, Caribbean, but the main development region in neutral conditions. But what's surprising is we do see a little bit unfavorable, but then by the end of it, looks like end of September, like the 26th, we actually kind of enter more of a neutral phase that some of the ensembles are showing. And instead of it just completely being straight out unfavorable, the environment is in neutral conditions. So what does that mean? Is it's not terrible, but it's not the best, but it's doable for tropical waves to develop and gain its convection. And the question is, do we see another surge in October of the Madden Julia oscillation that heads right into the Atlantic that helps to give it a few more storms? That's also possible. This is very long out, and I like to take it day by day and watch it very close. The GFS, I'm not going to look at the 0Z, but we're going to take a look at the 18Z and 12Z because the 12Z has more of the fresh data. But this is the 12Z. Generally, that 14, 15, the MJO does start to become more active. And then, according to GFS, is actually a little bit even more active, especially with that tropical wave that does develop. And eventually, we actually see by September 19, a very strong MJO, pretty strong, a little bit stronger than the Euro, in the Bay of Campeche, Gulf, and Caribbean. And if we do see a wave coming out of the Central American gyre, the MJO would massively help its thunderstorms, its convection. Question is, do we see and do we get a spin? And that is very hard to predict, but we'll have to wait and see. But by September 19th, pretty much the Atlantic is still in some favorable activity, and even the 20th, starting to enter more of a neutral phase. And then generally the Atlantic, once again, even on the GFS, shows a period where it is quiet. And for some reason, but a little bit interesting, it shows an unfavorable conditions by the end of September. But it looks like by the 27th, it does become a little bit better. I wish this goes out a bit further. But it looks like maybe a little bit more of a neutral phasing in the Atlantic as we go into October. Very far out. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. But what we've been having issue is this unfavorable for weeks and weeks in the Atlantic. that has just struggled. I mean, look at the last 72 hours even. Just unfavorable. And now with this period coming up, does the question matter is, does these tropical waves take an advantage of it? What's your guys' opinion on that? Do you guys think these tropical waves could take an advantage of the MJO?
Definitely, if they're strong enough. I want to go to the water temperatures I've been talking about, because there's another thing that's been killing the Atlantic. If we go on my screen, I found the loop, and it's going to be a very interesting loop, because I've been looking at it a few times.
Do you want me? Let me go to your screen. Also, thank you guys. We have actually just gained 4 subscribers. We are now 11 away from 800, so that will be an awesome goal tonight if we can do that, because we are working around the clock for you guys and really watching everything that's going on. So I'm gonna let you talk a little bit. I need to drink something, give my voice just a rest.
I'll be right back as well.
Okay.
So for our viewers here, we were talking about earlier before the MJO. We were talking about how, and someone please, if someone's there, point if my mic is glitchy or not. I just want to make sure.
You're good right now.
We were focusing on the sea surface temperatures being a cap. If we take a look at my screen here, we can see these waters right here are a little bit below average. Their subtropical waters are supposed to be that, because if they're too warm, they can cap it. Here is what I've been trying to show here. This is a loop of the Atlantic throughout its life of unfavorability. Look at the moment the Tut arrives and the Bermuda High changes. Look at all that below average water there just in the main development region.
Wow.
And during this time, look at all that below, and then it gets too. This is when Erin was in, and then this is when we had a favorable period. Do we notice the way the cool water was happening? It got too warm to the north, and it created a capping layer. The main development region was also below average, but notice the last few frames. Sudden rapid warming is occurring, which might be showing a sign that we are the Atlantic is sort of flipping its switch. And even if the MJO took a little bit longer, I really do think, especially with the Atlantic getting more of a flip of a switch, if the Tut doesn't affect this next tropical wave, and unlike Invest 91L, the storm that sheared itself, poor thing, if the wave can survive a decent D max and D minimum, I really think this wave, will it be our next ace maker? That all depends on what the wave and the environment does surrounding it. But still, we want to keep an eye on this. I also want to keep an eye on something that we sort of dodged. We talked about the gyre, but there's one piece of the gyre equation that I am watching here. So let's go to satellite imagery. We are going to go to the Atlantic Basin. I want to go to Central Atlantic. Now, look at this energy right here. You notice a tiny bit of spin with it. A lot of popcorn thunderstorm activity north of a low, upper level low. Again, northeast of Puerto Rico. You can see it's being sheared. If we look at it, it's surrounded by dry air and shear. But the wave energy, we take a look at the map, it's right there. There's clearly energy in it. It's right into a monsoon trough too, which is also interesting. This is going to move west. Here's my question, and this is a question that I wonder about everyone's opinion. Is this the energy combined with the gyre signals that will potentially be able to trigger at least, I'm just going to say at least a 20% chance of development. We're not saying it's going to develop. We are saying the chance of development.
I was looking into that.
Center,
yeah.
Let's look at the Climate Prediction Center real quick. Notice this area with a lot of moisture with the gyre. But the question is, does this tropical wave energy combined with a potential gyre that will also help the East Pacific and another system, looking at 60%, and I wonder if the tropical wave plus the gyre will actually help it. There are many examples of very strong hurricanes Dak, and I want to go through 3 different scenarios. Four actually. Number 1, energy either doesn't correlate, or it doesn't build up, or it gets sheared by a jet, or a trough, or a boundary. Number 1. Number 2, the area does develop, but it's very broad. It's kind of like Cristobal in early 2020. Let's see a system like that. Yes, it could do impacts to the United States. Yeah, it could do impacts to the United States. It could do impacts to the Caribbean. Of course, we won't know the steering currents perfectly at that time. But it's a broad system. Another example is a Hurricane Richard or Paula, or of 2010, or Hurricane Gamma of 2020. It did rapidly intensify, but either it hit land or the jet sheared it. The last scenario, and I am not saying this is going to happen, but we have seen tropical wave gyre combos that have made historic hurricanes for the United States. Two of the biggest ones are Hurricane Michael 2018 and Helene of 2024. Does that mean it's going to happen? No, because like Weather Kingdom said, there are multiple pieces of the equation of the atmosphere that we need to solve in order to understand what the gyre and the wave is going to do. But please pay attention, especially since La Nina is coming in October. If we have another MJO phase, that's when the Caribbean potentially will flip its own switch. Some of the strongest Atlantic storms have been from the Central American gyre tropical wave combos. Hurricane Wilma 2005 is an amazing example of that. So that's all I wanted to talk about, just the pieces that we're trying to solve. The atmosphere, we're not always going to be 100%, because the atmosphere is an equation. What pieces, what counters do we need or don't need in order to form a tropical system? And everyone thinks just warm water. There's so much more to that. Above average tropical waters can lead to lower lapse rates. Sinking air combined with that can cause tons with East Pacific convection and cause tropical waves to fail. There are so much more equations than just warm water and shear that I think people need to understand about tropical development. And tropical systems are harder to predict than people think. I'm done.
Think of it this way, what Tristan's saying. The Atlantic is like a ticking time bomb. And it will gradually get a lot worse to get a warning saying that you need to evacuate.
Or it could not happen at all. There's so many equations to the atmosphere that what we're telling you now is just what we're seeing, what we think is going to happen. We don't have crystal balls. We can't see in the future. But with our data, we can try to predict the best in our ability to save human lives.
Also, I was just taking a look at this. Look at the can slip in the month of September right now that we are in. But look at October also. A lot of precip out of the Central American gyre showing up here on the latest can slip model, especially in the main development region, Eastern Gulf, even off the East Coast, the Bahamas, parts in the near Bermuda, just south of Bermuda, and then even into November, much more dry near the U.S., but we still get subtropical activity potentially.
There's actually a very good chance that when the when the southern hemisphere goes off and the northern hemisphere is on its last season, except for typhoon basin, there's a very good chance that we're gonna probably see some more storms, maybe 2 or 3 of them, but it's unknown of how many we're gonna see. I'm just giving an estimate of maybe 2 to 3, but judging by it, we're still gonna see those storms even on November.
New GFS is out, and it's 156 hours out, and it's pretty interesting. We see once again the Central American gyre, and actually I want to look at what Tristan was saying with that wave. I want to see if I can see that on the latest GFS here. So
One
what
more
he's
thing to keep in note, Weather Kingdom. I apologize for interrupting.
no, you're good.
There's also another bias to the Central American gyre I want to briefly talk about. Sometimes it spins up something strong, not because something is there, but because it uses the mountains, and the mountains help extra vorticity. But all the other clues are suggesting the gyre might spin up. But I just want to note that is a bias of the GFS. So normally what you want is not one model, but multiple models together. And I hope we get that soon. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, hold on. So, one of your moderators said this in your chat, saying that I think October might be the win-win in activity. Keep this in mind. What I said about next week and maybe next 2 to 3 weeks in September is we don't know if this is gonna be if October's gonna get the win yet. Basically, we have to go off of how many storms are gonna develop, and I think I said that there's going to be an additional 6 more developments. So it would add up to about 12, which will end the season off at, well, M is 14. We'll end the season off with about, K name. So we'll end the season at Karen.
Alright.
I actually think we will end the season. You said I am because I also factor subtropical systems, boundaries, and the potential of an off-season December that sometimes happens. I always put that to the equation.
I'm taking. Can I?
Likely 8 more. Go ahead.
But what I said about September being kind of not this active right now, it's a bunch of factors. What Tristan said, it goes into what we have to go into, and it also goes into the models of why are they not performing so good like we said they were to be. There's a bunch of reasons, and do we have to go into an explanation of them?
No. We already
There's a bunch of reasons of why this is happening, and a bunch of meteorologists know why this is happening. It's underperforming the models and not showing anything.
This looks pretty interesting on the GFS here. It does show in the next 36 hours that wave comes off pretty weak, even the next 48 hours out. But it's different than Erin because according to GFS, there's a lot more precip and a lot less dry air that we were talking about. And if this can consolidate before running into that dry air, this could definitely battle out a little bit more. According to the next 72 hours out, the wave does become better defined. That's why I said I want to see a little bit more about the main development region. And then we do see that drier coming a little bit. But we also see that very good moisture bubble. But then it gets lopsided and that dryer starts getting into it. But at this point, we already have a tropical storm. But then this becomes more of a lopsided system on the GFS where it's kind of one-sided with its moisture.
It's one side between moisture and dry air.
Yeah, so I'm really watching that. But the Canadian also has the same type of development. So I do think if this does develop, for now I will go with just a tropical storm. But I want to see the short term because if the short term does good, then I do think this type of scenario could play out. But it does look like by September 18th and the next little bit, it does create more moisture around it. Remember, this is just one thing. But the question is there any wind shear? And to be honest with you is no. When we look at the 200 millibar winds here, it's generally favorable in the upper levels. How do we know is look at these arrows all pointing outflow. And actually with that tut, it actually favors in the storm.
Weather Kingdom.
Yeah.
If you look very carefully northwest of the system, we've seen this before with other systems. When they struggle, but then you see a trough and the storm is at a certain angle and that shear becomes this outflow. I think that's what's happening here too, if you pay attention carefully. If you look very carefully, it looks like a trough angle.
A little bit of a trough angle, and then we keep going. By 132.
Forward ahead, you would have to go 68 hours. There's a little bit of outflow, yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, still a little bit outflow here, around 132 hours out. A little less favorable, but that's probably just a little bit less. But
it's 168, I'm curious.
Not horrible. And then when we go 168, then the shear really, then it kind of picks up. Whereas, yeah, the northern side is good outflow, but the southern side is getting sheared.
Doesn't normally most tropical systems battle the moisture and the dry air and still gain strength?
That has happened, but it's slower strength. I mean, I'm very interested because it still has its strengthening here. Probably because it's not crazy. I mean, it's probably not crazy. Also, the moisture bubble.
See, look, that's the angle with the trough, and then you have a little bit of an anticyclone trying to form. See, look at that. And the strength is a 992 millibars there. So I think the trough is actually giving it a little bit more of an outflow boost. So this might be a situation where it struggles somewhat in the MDR, but then does a little bit more of an intensification boost in the subtropical region, which will be very interesting.
This is very interesting. That tropical wave that you were just taking a look at is actually picking up on the latest GFS. Because when I want to show you. When we take a look at the vorticity where we are right now, you know how our tropical wave is right here, that you said that's going to go west, right? I want you to follow it with the vorticity. When we take a look at the next 24 hours out, there's that tropical wave now hitting the Leeward Islands. I want you to take about 40...
It collides with a boundary in South Florida and tries to spin up.
Exactly.
And then there's another gyre area.
That's...
Really?
Because look, look at that. It goes into Puerto Rico. It starts lifting north. And then when we take a look at a little bit there it is. It goes right through these islands. Right? So there's our tropical wave. That's interesting. But then we keep going. It goes just south of Cuba. There it is in the next 138 hours out. While we have another piece of energy right here, while we could have another storm out in the main development region, I'm very I'm iffy on that. But then it comes off Cuba, and then look at that. It gets something in the Gulf.
The GFS on that system that struggled for a little bit. The trough gets closer, there's actually another little bit of a low pressure, and the system suddenly gets a very beautiful outflow and combine it comes together. It actually fights the dry air to itself when it does that. That is an angle of trough that helps outflow. Very interesting. We'll have to see.
A lot of moisture. Let me take a look at the Canadian because that's also coming out. That's interesting stuff.
Whoa! What the heck?
Yeah, it's a whole different run. See, this is why I don't like looking at the... Am I still alive? Yeah, I am.
Yes, you are.
That's oh my goodness.
It's so interesting how some people say shear destroys the system, but if the shear is at a certain position of the storm, it can actually help it rapidly intensify. Depending on the structure. It just depends on where the angle of the trough is at. Me or Weather Kingdom?
Either one of you guys.
I am using the GFS, and I think he's using Canadian. I'm using the GFS. We're kind of switching between both.
Yeah.
If my tropical bits and stuff.
Also, I want to analyze the Canadian main development region storm because I think that's also something I already did on the GFS. Canadian is a little bit more broader, but it actually does come more consolidated here in the next 150 hours out. And it does become something while we are actually seeing another wave coming off Africa. That's a little bit interesting. And also the dry... I don't like looking at this dry air. It's not the same. Because the precip on the Canadian it overdoes it. But there's definitely some dry air there. But look at these two tropical waves. Pretty robust here. And then when we take a look at precip, looks like also lopsided. So GFS and Canadians also agreeing on a more lopsided system if this does develop. Also, the shear is not too bad. And then it gets a little bit less favorable as we get closer to 160 hours out. But we'll have to wait and see. Also, look at that. Whoa, 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 whoa. What is that?
What the heck?
Did you guys just... What is this?
That's the trough angle.
No,
There it is.
no, but look at this wave coming off Africa here on the Canadian. On September
That looks like a
8th.
smaller trough angle. That looks like a smaller trough angle, helping it boost a little bit too. That's interesting.
Look at this.
Huh, look at that.
Also, on the East Pacific side, anyone curious about this, there is a 175 system, but a lot of moisture is to the south and the northeast, when the geos have a little bit of a dry air.
I'm looking. Some spin up might have. Some spin up is showing up near Mexico and Belize.
Yep, that's the we were talking about that.
Yeah, but it's not too supporting on the 0Z, though.
Yes, but that tropical wave near the leeward collides with a boundary, becomes a spin up near Florida.
I'm wondering if the models are starting... Maybe the GFS is starting to pick it up now because... What does the... How does it look right now?
That wave, it's getting sheared and dry, but it's clearly spinning and active with convection. It has energy. It's just being countered right now.
We'll see what the National Hurricane Center says about it about.
Okay.
It's very interesting. They could do a development. They could do. Now, here's the problem with the development area near Florida. It is on the boundary if it gets frontal. That doesn't classify as a tropical system for our viewers. So there could be, in theory, if we were to guess, a 40% chance the main development region, and maybe a 20 around from Central America all the way to Florida, or just near Central America, around Mexico, would be my guess. If they do it at 2 a.m.
The National Weather, oh my God, what's the National Weather? The National Hurricane Center is actually watching another tropical wave in the East Pac again.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
190
the axis of the
hours.
tropical south of 20 north, moving westward at 5 to 10 knots. Scattered moisture, moderate convention is observed from 08 north to 16 north, and 131 north to 140 north, or west. Sorry, it was supposed to be west.
Also, I want to take a look at the two European AI models. Yeah, nothing with the Central American gyre, but
Icon is showing a robust right now.
what's interesting is that wave that's near the Western Antilles. I don't want to. There's some models ensemble support in the long run, just like the GFS is shown in the 0Z. This is one of the AI models. And it does show that storm out in the main development region here. But it also shows a region where this goes into the Western Antilles, trying to develop, but doesn't really develop until it gets where the GFS gets it to develop. That's a little interesting. Just these little... I want to see further data.
Details that you know this on the model.
Also, this is another AI. Also shows a few ensembles near the Florida, but that's out of the. Take it with a grain of salt. I want to see, but then look at the GEFS. Really explodes the Central American gyre.
Suggestion, I will look at Icon.
Oh no, why?
Icon is showing a low of 1,009 to 1,012, showing up near the coast of Florida.
I also noticed that.
That's more of a boundary day. That's a boundary day.
But it moves directly towards North Carolina.
Well, here's the thing. There are a bunch of mesoscale low pressures over the Carolinas. This
Yeah.
might not be a tropical system at that point. It might be. If you look at the Weather Prediction Center, let me look at that. Yeah,
And
there's a
Icon
front right there.
And then Icon shows 1,003 off the coast of Africa.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, it is getting late here, you guys. It is now like 12:30, and I do have a busy day tomorrow. We kind of took a look at the 0Z runs. What's your guys' latest thoughts on all this?
My general opinion is, first for the gyre system, is 1,002 millibars. Now, the next runs, it can show nothing. The next runs, it can show hurricane. The gyre is difficult. We just need to pay attention, see if other models agree with the GFS that some energy might come off. Of course, the wave near the lead word could either be a boundary Florida problem, a gyre problem, or not be a problem at all. I do expect maybe a 40% in the Atlantic because of even if the storm is not a true ace maker, they're definitely pointing at development. So many models have been really pointing at either a tropical storm to I'll even say maybe a low in Cat 1 hurricane. That's what the structure and the pressures look like so far. And will it be an ace maker? We'll just have to wait and see. This is a day-by-day surface analysis type setup where models are useful, but we really need to look at surface observations combined with the models to give our best estimates. So just remember.
Another thing we have to look at is surface forecast and see what they're saying.
Exactly. So just make sure
Which is
pay attention.
Which is essentially a job that I can do.
Just
Alright.
pay attention and don't let your guard down. Because people said in 2018 and 2024, the season ain't going to do nothing. We saw what happened. Just don't let your guard down.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great way to kind of cap it up here for tonight. We are going live, everyone. At least I know I am. I don't know about everyone else. But we are going to be going live daily again. I am sorry. I needed a 3-day break. Life kind of kicked me in the butt. And I was very exhausted from streaming and video. I was doing a video, then streaming at night for like 2 hours. And honestly, it started kicking me a little bit. And I was just trying to keep you guys all updated. But I kind of need that 3-day break. And then throughout the 3-day break, some stuff came up that wasn't so good. And with, it kind of bummed me out. And I didn't have... I wasn't really awake. I was kind of exhausted. And even right now, I'm still feeling the effects from it. But I wanted to stream. I wanted to, because I know you guys are interested and love my streams. And I know you guys keep asking me. And I keep saying I will the next day. And it's just been a little bit of a tough period in life. And I know I will get through it. And I'm ready to, stream again for the rest of the season, finish it off strong, and then we'll be going into winter, and likely I will be doing a lot of live streams, maybe with some people even, on their opinions on the winter. Ahead of the winter, what I'm thinking is, this is going to be a hard forecast, because there's a lot of factors in it.
We're going into a neutral phase.
Yeah, and usually the neutral phase is it could play either way. Question is now, do we have a positive PNA, PNO, all this stuff that, one thing is off. Yeah.
There's a bunch of side effects. If we go into El Nino, we're going to get more Arctic blasts. We're going to get more winter storms as heck. And as well, we're going to get more tornado outbreaks.
Also,
It depends
yes.
on the pattern. One more day before we end it. I kind of said blowing Cat 1 hurricane, and the GFS decided to go with a Category 1 hurricane with a bit of an upper level low angle in the North Atlantic, hoping its outflow on the latest frame.
Let me look. Oh, yeah.
Another thing to you Weather Kingdom fans that are watching the stream, if you actually want some real tropical updates on, like, just worldwide basin, like, typhoons, make sure you subscribe to Tropics 30X, because that's the only channel that does it. I mainly do my best in it.
Well, this was a very fun stream.
Yeah,
Hope everyone's
wait,
having
before we
fun.
actually end this, is there an area? Nah, I'm over it. Okay. Is the icon
There
like...
is there is a spin up off the coast of South Carolina from that wave, sort of from that energy from the leeward country.
Yeah, but I don't see any major support on it, but... So I'm going to
We'll
keep
see.
it... Yeah, Canadian, yeah, also kind of... Oh, wait. Canadian's out. Huh. That's interesting. Alright, it shows on the latest 0Z. Instead of that Central American gyre, it has that... Wait. It actually has a lot of stuff going on in the main development region, by the way. Pretty interesting stuff in the main development region, so I like to keep an eye on that. But look at that tropical wave right here. It goes into the islands just like the GFS, but then it looks like it comes off Cuba, and now on the latest 0Zs have more vorticity quicker in the Gulf thanks to that wave. That's right now that Tristan was talking about. I would like to see how that evolves tomorrow, because if that wave can survive and make it into the regions, yeah, something else I like to keep a watch out. And for everybody that's here, the wave that I want to watch, and I think Tristan is watching too, it's this wave. It's not
It's
in
a
the...
small little circulation near the leewards that you can see better on this map. Give me a second. It's going to be on No Mic. Hold on, not on No Mic actually. It's going to be on the YouTube stream chat on its own VC chat. To the Leeward Islands on the surface analysis of 18Z by the center. I want to see if they updated the 0Z. Give me 1 second. I think they did. Let me
Of
look.
what?
Okay, we got new 0Z information. So real quick, I just want to very briefly go over.
Give me in
Tropical wave
1
continues to
second.
be over Panama. They now have designated Tropical Depression 13, which is located off the coast of Mexico. The tropical wave 0Z data is now officially, the energy is officially off the coast of Africa. So we will have to see for the next day or two how that progresses. That tropical wave continues east of the leewards. And then there is still that tropical wave on the monsoon trough located in the central Atlantic. At least the energy of it is. If you look on water vapor, I can't talk. The main two areas to watch: tropical wave located east of leewards, tropical wave just now off the coast of Africa with new 00Z data by the surface analysis from the National Weather Service. Alrighty.
Alright, I think that will wrap it up. Thank you for the information, and everybody, if you want to say your goodbyes, and yeah, I think we did awesome tonight. I think it went very well, and I hope you guys, I know we didn't have the same audience as previous live streams, but I think we did pretty good for me coming back from a 3-day break. We also got a lot of information thanks to the help of Tristan and the whole entire Weather Kingdoms team, Earth Central, all of you guys. Absolutely crushed it tonight. I think we did it professional. We did it without overhyping. We kind of just told you how it is, what scenarios, and why we also really heavily talked tonight on why the Atlantic haven't been busy. So if you guys want to go back to those parts, just fast forward, where in the beginning of the stream we really talked heavily on why is the Atlantic struggling lately. So there's a lot of information in tonight's stream, and I hope you guys like it, and I will probably be back here tomorrow once again looking at its latest data. So thank you guys. I hope you guys are, if you guys are new, please like and subscribe. And if you guys share. It also helps to get more people involved and engage with weather. And if you guys have any questions, please leave comments down below.